When you think of the Caribbean, do you think vacations or investment? We all love the Caribbean, but what does it mean to own a piece of it? Meet David Mullings, CEO and founder of Mahoe Capital. Born and raised in Jamaica, now based in Florida, David is building a bridge between the Caribbean and the global diaspora, one investment at a time. He started with a simple question. If others see profit in the Caribbean, why can't we? That question sparked a mission to make it possible for everyday people across the diaspora to invest in the region's growth. Through Mahoe Capital, he's opening access to projects in real estate, renewable energy, and private equity, creating opportunities that keep wealth circulating within the Caribbean. For David, it's more than business. It's legacy. He's proven the Caribbean isn't just a place to vacation, it's a place to invest, innovate, and build generational wealth. This is the story of how one Jamaican visionary is turning pride into progress and capital into community. Check it out on this episode of Black and Borderless.
I think you told me you were going to be in Jamaica around this time.
Yeah, I know. I'm supposed to fly tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm supposed to be in Miami today, Jamaica
I was looking
tomorrow.
forward to like the little backdrop. Like, I was going to tell you, to get by the seaside and do this interview. So
I know. I know. I mean, the kids were the ones that really just like, nah.
Mm-hmm. They made it happen.
They literally made it happen. Oh, I'm excited for this, man. Your questions, when my chief of staff sent them to me, I messaged her. I was like, oh, wow. I tweeted 30 minutes ago to say, man, I'm getting ready to do a podcast interview today. I didn't say which one, but I was like, I'm going to be on a podcast interview today. It's the best questions I've ever gotten. They need to get this video out ASAP. The questions you ask feed my soul because it allows me to say exactly what I always want to say.
Oh, thank you. Wow. You're starting this off with a strong foot. Now we have to live up to that. So
no pressure now.
Here.
Yeah,
no pressure,
really high. Okay. So, welcome to another episode of Black and Borderless. Today we have a really special guest. We've actually been trying to get him on for 2 weeks now, so we're glad he's joining us. We have David Mullings, CEO and founder of Mahoe. Let's give him a nice, warm Black and Borderless welcome. A two-person welcome.
That's right.
So today we're going to be chatting with David Mullings about all things investment when it comes to the Caribbean. And I have my co-founder and Caribbean liaison, Chris Burton, here today to chat it up and chop it up with David. So welcome to Chris. Welcome, Chris.
Hey, thank you. She brings me in for the Yardie episodes. You know what I'm saying?
You gotta explain to the viewers what a Yardie is, and I think they all know. We have an audience of people from all over the Black diaspora, but he's basically saying I bring him in for all the Caribbean, Jamaican,
all the Jamaican episodes. I come through pinch hit.
Yeah, you're probably wearing Crocs right now. I don't know.
Exactly.
I'm an honorary Yardie myself, if that makes sense. That's my third home. The grill is my third home. My mom's so I get to do it. So welcome again, David. We're glad to really have you on with us.
Thank you for having me. Really excited for this. Love the questions that you sent. I got goosebumps reading those questions.
Awesome. We're glad. We think we're going to have a really great convo and discussion about all of this. So let's get right into it. Imagine that you're having a TED Talk, right? If you're familiar with TED Talks. And you have to tell us, like, open and catch our attention and tell us, all the investors out there. We have an audience of people from the African continent, Black Americans here in the U.S., North America, Europe. What would you say to those people who maybe have gone to the Caribbean for vacation or for some form of entertainment? Explain to them why now is the time to consider the Caribbean region as an investment destination.
Oh, I love that. Well, I would say 2 reasons you need to focus on the Caribbean right now. The first one is very simply this question. Who is investing in the Caribbean right now? And if we don't invest back home, who is going to own the Caribbean in 10 years? Just start with that question, right? We see people from, obviously, the Middle East investing. We see the Spanish investing, the Mexicans. We've seen a lot of people investing, but most of them don't look like us. So that's the first thing you need to ask yourself. Who is going to own the Caribbean in 10 years, if not us? So that's number one. But number two, you have to simply look at one question. Where is yield? Where is growth going to come from? Growth comes from countries and economies where we have growing middle class, we have a young population, we have low consumer debt, and we have economic growth. Those are four things you want to see, right? A rising tide lifts all boats. The tide is starting to rise in the Caribbean, both figuratively, business-wise, and literally, not in a good way.
Right.
The tide is rising. But if you don't have a boat, if you're not in the boat, you drown. You miss out on that opportunity. So get in a boat. Get in a boat.
What was that aha moment for you when you were just like, I have to create Blue Mahoe? Like, what were those key events that sparked it in your mind?
So it's a sequence of events. I sat on the Jamaica Diaspora Advisory Board. So we created an advisory board that represented Jamaicans in the United States, Canada, and the UK, our three largest diaspora groups. And then we created this future leaders position in each one per country or per region, so that we had some continuity, right? The older people were there, and then future leaders would essentially understudy and be more likely to then scale up. So I represented Jamaicans under the age of 35. And that got me and allowed me to hear from people in the diaspora and what was happening, what their issues were, what went right, what was going wrong, what the complaints were, but then also allowed me to see what's going right in Jamaica. I also got to work in Jamaica. I worked in finance 3 times, 2001 being the first job. So I worked with small businesses. Then I designed mortgage and investment products for locals as well as for the diaspora, the US, Canada, and UK. So I had to sell services, financial services to them. Once again, understand the premise. In my head, I wanted to take capital from the Caribbean to invest in the United States. I wanted them to get access to opportunities they don't normally get access to. So Facebook before it goes public, for example. So let's create a vehicle that can do that for them, more on the private equity side, less on the venture side. Imagine me now being asked by the Jamaica Stock Exchange in 2014, hey, David, can you speak at our annual conference in January? And your topic is going to be how to get the diaspora to invest back into Jamaica, not just send more remittances. And I was like, why would you ask me that? I'm not investing that way. I'm going the other way. It's like, no, but we know you from investing here in Jamaica, working in finance. You work with a lower middle market private equity firm in the US. Just tell us what it would take for you personally, as a member of the diaspora, to invest back into Jamaica. I said, oh, that's easy. That's easy. And I went up on stage. I presented what I felt made sense. So I put up 5 things. We'll get into them later. I said, here are the 5 things that we would need to overcome for me to do it. Thank you. Go and launch it. And some wealthy people were in the room, and we stayed in touch. One of them was working on a deal with to invest in the United States. So this is Joe Matalon, Little Joe, as we call him in Jamaica. Joe, you want to invest in this deal in the States? Let me show you this stuff. And then he says to me the meeting, this is August 2018. By the way, David, why didn't you launch that thing that you pitched to us 4 years ago at the Jamaica Stock Exchange? I said, I wasn't pitching you on something I want to do. I was telling you guys what you need to launch for me to write a check. And he says, no, but you're the perfect person to do it. We know and trust you in Jamaica. The diaspora knows and trusts you from being in the diaspora, and you have financial experience in both. You are the perfect person to launch it. We will back you. Really? No. In my head, I'm like, okay then. If one of the richest guys in Jamaica is going to back me, let's go.
Right.
And then he came up with a name. It wasn't my idea. He came up with the name Blue Mahoe Capital. It's like Blue Mahoe. We got the name. We spent 18 months. It was him and his chief operating officer would meet with me. I met with the CEO every month. I met with Joe every 3 months, every quarter for 18 months to figure out what is the structure, what's our role model company, how are we going to build this, what's the legal stuff that's required, what's the first things we're going to invest in. And then I got the chance to sit down with Michael Lee Chin, the richest black man in Canada, Jamaican, Canadian billionaire on the Forbes list. I'd known Mike since 2008. And so I got the chance to really sit with him and say, hey, Mike, here's what I'm thinking about. I need a little help. I'm not asking you for money. I just want this. And so Mike said, well, we're going to build a Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett's company, which I've been studying since 2001.
Right.
But is going to own an investment firm. What if Berkshire had owned Blackstone? And so he laid it all right there for me. And here's why you want asset management. What do you need from me to help? I will do whatever it takes to ensure that Blue Mahoe Capital becomes the vehicle in the US to invest back in the Jamaica and the Caribbean. We need more David Mullingses, and I am going to back you. So when you have two people like that saying, we believe in you, we are going to back you, this is the structure, this makes sense, and it's built on the skeleton of what I preached before, that's when you kind of feel that it's forced on you. They're seeing something that I wasn't seeing. And so that was the aha moment. And then I decided I'm going to build it privately, though. I was working at a hedge fund at the time. We were investing in only U.S. companies. Black-owned hedge fund in Naperville, so just outside of Chicago.
Illinois.
I'm doing investor relations here in the Southeast U.S. for them. Hey, Nolan, Jamaica has the best performing stock exchange in the whole world for the last 5 years.
Right.
We need to create a second fund that's going to invest in Caribbean companies. I know the companies. I went to school with some of the CEOs. Oh man, David, I don't know the Caribbean, I don't know the companies, I don't know the culture. You should really launch it. I'll bring it down to 20 hours a week. You use the other 20 hours to figure out how to launch it for yourself.
Wow.
Oh, really? So I get to understudy this man. Great. And then I joined the Rotary Club here in Orlando, in Windermere. We do a golf tournament, and the former president, oh, so what do you do? Tell him what I'm doing. Oh man, my best friend founded this investment firm in Naperville. $60 billion under management. I can set up a meeting with you to get some advice. Maybe he'll invest. So we sit down on Zoom with the CEO and CFO at 10 a.m. on a Wednesday morning, and I make this pitch. And I open with, hey guys, Jamaicans alone send back $2.2 billion US per year in remittances, Western Union in particular, mainly US, UK, Canada, Cayman. But they don't have an easy way to invest back home. No mutual fund, no ETF. I want to build a portfolio of these 15 companies in these industries, take board seats on 3 of them, and I can make some real money. I just want 0.1% of that money in 1 year, and I can build a business.
Yeah.
And the CFO starts laughing. And I was like, whoa, did I say something wrong? Like something on my face? What happened? And John laughs. He's like, no, David, you're thinking too small. You need to think bigger. And I was like, nobody in my entire life has ever told me I think too small. Should I be going for 1%? And he laughs again. He's like, no, you misunderstand. He's like, we have a $300 million Latin American Caribbean fund with no Caribbean exposure. None of the companies are traded outside of the Caribbean, so they don't get Wall Street coverage. We can't buy them. We don't know the companies. We don't know the culture. Yeah. You know the companies. You know the culture. You probably went to high school with some of the CEOs. I said, yes, 4 of them. And he says, and he can get board seats? I said, yes, for 3 of them. And he's like, well, we can't invest in a private company. But if you were publicly traded, we would put 1% of our assets, $3 million, into your stock to get the exposure to the Caribbean. And that's one fund under one asset manager. Every asset manager, every endowment fund, every pension fund, every mutual fund, every exchange traded fund that wants exposure to the Caribbean would have to buy your stock.
Right.
Just get listed. Okay, sir. Done. Call NASDAQ. Hey, NASDAQ, this is what I'm doing. Want to get listed. How do we do it? And we chose NASDAQ because their software powers the Jamaica Stock Exchange. And that's how it started. NASDAQ said, here's the 8 options. I said, what's the fastest, quickest, cheapest way? And they said, this one. So we've been focused on just that since that meeting. So that's the aha moment. It's 3 aha moments. One person says, you're the perfect person, we'll back you. Second person who's done it before says, I believe you can do it. Here's exactly how you should do it. I'm in. And then some random white guy just like, you're thinking too small. You need to think bigger.
Wow. That's amazing. I think sometimes when people talk about how they came about, their purpose, it's like people almost kind of lead you to it. You didn't even know that was your purpose. Like you said, you went there and did that presentation. You didn't realize you were even pitching.
Yeah.
People saw you and observed it and said, no, we're going to back you. You didn't have to even seek out the backing. So that's how you know that you were, as you said, you were onto something. Yep. So that's great. That's a really inspiring story about how Blue Mahoe came about. I do want to rewind a little bit before that, right? Before you had this big moment where people said, oh, no, you have something here. To your personal experience as an immigrant coming to the U.S. So you talk about how when you came here and you were working here, that's when you started realizing all the positive things, all the good things that were happening in Jamaica. When you were living in Jamaica growing up, did you not see those things as much? Or did you have to kind of step away to see them? Or did you always kind of have this belief that Jamaica and the Caribbean at large had a lot of potential?
Yeah, so I grew up seeing the potential. I grew up in a house where my father talked about Singapore all the time, and Jamaica could be like Singapore in many ways. So So I always saw the potential. We understood, we saw it. And we talked about it in our household. We read about Lee Kuan Yew. We read what Michael Manley's vision was. We saw the economic plan that was written under the other government in the 60s that Lee Kuan Yew then used and did what he did with Singapore. So I always saw the potential. What Dad and I would discuss is what do we need to do to actually self-actualize? That's really what it is, right? We're not short of vision. We're short of action. Right? Our national anthem in Jamaica says, give us vision lest we perish. If I could change it, I would say, give us action lest we perish. We talk too much. So, action, not a bag of mouth. That's a huge song. That actually should be our national motto. Action, not a bag of mouth. We talk too much. Just get it done. So I saw it. And then I don't consider myself an immigrant. Right? I thought of myself as an expat. Because I came up at 15 for university. I went back when I graduated at 19 and I played soccer. I played in the second division in Jamaica and for an under 20 team. Came back and did my MBA, stayed for 2 years after that. Went back to Jamaica again in 2005, work in finance. Came up to work in private equity. But then I went back again to consult in finance in Jamaica. And then now I'm in Jamaica every month. I spend more time in Jamaica than up here now, right? We still have the family house. We still have the car. I land and I fly with my school bag. That's it. I just show up and go home. This is home. I show up. It's funny. I was there 2 weeks ago, right? And I went into my usual coffee shop. Those people in Jamaica who know me know exactly where I go most mornings. So I go there to get my usual omelette or the coffee. I just walk in, and my lawyer was visiting from the US, first time in Jamaica. I walk in, and they just said, the usual, Mr. Mullings? I said, yes. And then I go outside and sit down, and then they bring the stuff out, and he's like, man, they really know you. So when I'm leaving, I'm letting them know, hey, I fly out tomorrow. I'm probably not back for probably 3 weeks. And one of the servers said, what you mean? I was like, I don't live here. She's like, you don't live in Jamaica? We see you so much, I didn't know you don't live here.
Right.
I love that. Mentally, I have never left the Caribbean. I'm here to learn, pay my dues, and then pay it forward.
So before we that thought that you had was really interesting. I think talking about the fact that your heart is still in the Caribbean, and that you make it a point to spend as much time there. I think it's important from like an emotional and personal standpoint. But from a professional standpoint, do you think that's necessary? If you're encouraging investment in the region, is it part of it also just like, I want to stay in touch with the region? If I'm going to be this kind of ambassador for the region from an investment standpoint, I need to be there?
I don't think so. I can hire a team down there. I don't think I actually have to visit and be on the ground. You hire professionals who are based there. My CIO is based in the Bahamas. We have a team in Jamaica. So I don't need to be there. I need to be in touch with there. For me, it was that I never felt welcome in the United States. I never felt welcome as a person of color. I never felt welcome as an other, right, an immigrant. So it was never going to be my home just because of how I was treated. Yeah. I never experienced racism until I came to America.
Yeah.
Wow, this is real. And so from that happened, I said, they don't want me, so I will do what I need to do. But I know where home always is. And then now we see what's happening here. And it's like, yeah, I got home. I know somewhere where I'm always welcome. And I think we as Black people have to remember that's what Marcus Garvey was trying to talk to all us about. And that's why that whole Back to Africa movement happened. And I think it's going to get even bigger again, right? We're going to basically bring back the Black Star Line. We are not welcome in certain countries, and we shouldn't try to get them to make us welcome. I think we should give up at this point and just give back to where we know we are welcome, where our roots are, where we're culturally related to, and build those places.
Yeah, I know Chris has a lot to say to that because he and I talk about things like this all the time. So before I get into that, I just want to hold on to that too. It's interesting that an investment guy is speaking and quoting Marcus Garvey, and I think like you wouldn't expect that, right? But what I've observed, like by watching some of your videos and kind of watching how you think, is that you're almost like a mix of like a social activist and a capitalist. But it's not, I guess it's not unusual because that's where the movement, I think that's where the Back to Africa kind of Pan-African movement is in right now. It's like, it's not just about, oh, let's go back to our home places for cultural reasons, but we can also do that and also find a way to make it progress economically at the same time.
Right. But I would say Pan-Africanism started with capitalism, right? He was trying to raise money. That's why he was locked up in the United States. He was building a business to invest back in Africa. So it started with money. And what he looked at and what all of us see is that we had colonial powers come in and make so much money off of us in Africa and the Caribbean. So there is money, there's gold in them there hills, literally. And they made us feel that actually that's less than, we shouldn't like that culture, we shouldn't dress like that, we shouldn't talk like that. Don't look there. Here is where we should have our American dream or our Canadian dream or our British dream. We should be more British. That's what colonialism was doing, to make us think that over there is not that good, so that, guess what? That's what magicians do. I get you to look over here so I can do this. So we've been looking over here. I want to get on the boat and get to England, or get on the plane and get to America and Canada, while they were going over there making money from Africa and the Caribbean. The internet has changed that. We now can see, oh, holy crap, Africa is actually way bigger as a continent than we realized, right? And there's way more opportunities there. In fact, they've made so much money. You look at France and Haiti. Wow, I did not know that history, because that history is purposely not taught to us. Keep you in the dark so they can keep making money. That's actually what the whole plan has been.
And I think to that point, you know, as you're talking about all the value that is on the continent and then in the Caribbean, what sort of conversation, or are you actively working with African firms or diaspora groups to really get them to understand this? Because I think about like my elders in my family, who, when I talk to them about like going back home to Jamaica, they're like, oh, I don't know. And they still have this like locked in picture of like 1980 just frozen in their mind forever. And I was like, it's so different. I was just there 3 years ago. It's different, I promise you. You know, so how do you talk to them about doing this sort of work and sort of unlearning all that we've been taught about the continent and back home?
So I started out wanting to get people to unlearn that, right? There's this term for it somebody introduced to me, cultural ossification. They just stuck back in the day. They think Jamaica is still like it was in the 70s or whenever they left. Right. You're in the UK, you left in the 50s, you think it's the same Jamaica back there. You left in the 70s, you think it's the same Jamaica or whatever. Cultural ossification. You have not visited, you pass around some things on Facebook or Instagram or on WhatsApp. Yeah, man, see it. Guys, do you know that there's a highway with a toll road? And I realized, you know what? I should not be here trying to show them how to do it.
Right.
Because I should tell them.
Right.
I mean, I was telling them, I should show them. Like, telling them don't help, right? Show, don't tell. I was busy trying to tell everybody, guys, stuff happening. I don't know. And then I realized eventually I'm a marketer. I did an MBA in marketing and international business.
Gotcha.
One of the most important books I've read is from Seth Godin. And he talks about tribes. So in our heads, we know, everybody knows, we like getting graded on a curve. That's how we want to get graded. So if you think of a normal distribution, it's not the actual numbers, but let's go with bottom 10%, top 10%, middle 80%. Most people are in the middle. Well, when you have the distribution of a product, right? The first person, somebody invents the iPhone, they're innovators. The person who buys the first version or the second version of the iPhone, just to get it out there, that person is an early adopter. Then you have a chasm that your business needs to get across to get to early majority, then late majority, then the laggards who still have a BlackBerry phone 15 years later until BlackBerry don't make phones anymore, or a Nokia 3310, right? Still playing Snake. I needed to quickly categorize people just like how a car salesman would categorize them. You walk into the dealership today and the guy's going to ask you, are you looking to buy a car today, this week, this month, or later in the year? And based on the answer, they will know how much effort to put out on selling you.
Right.
You shouldn't have to spend time convincing a laggard to get in at the early stage. Blue Mahoe Capital is focused on early majority. I don't need to convince anybody. They come to me. Self-selecting people. I've learned that is easier, is less stressful. I'd have more here if I had just done that earlier. I really wanted to change the perception of the Caribbean and get more people. Oh man, it's great down here. Look at these opportunities. I lose all this here for that. I do save money with the barber, thankfully. But no, I stress out myself. So I just don't stress myself out anymore. So we have a specific age group that we target. We just have to focus on that. Late Gen X and then millennials. That's it. These are the people who can afford to take risk. If you're older than that, you actually shouldn't be investing in early stage companies. You need like a fixed dividend. That's what you should be buying. Some bonds, some dividends, You don't have as much time to make up for the mistake if you lose. So we can't target them. We shouldn't target them. If I come from the finance world, I care about responsible investing. That's not our target market. It's also the hardest people to convince, right? They have this financial trauma from the Caribbean. Oh, I
Yes.
did this. I send money down to build this house, and I go down there and I see 2 blocks instead of a house.
That's
This
right.
financial thing happened. This company collapsed. My gosh, your traumas are not my traumas. Get over
Real.
it. We
For real.
need to invest because the foreigners are buying up the place. That's actually the foreigners are buying it up. If the foreigners can go there right now today, what's stopping you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't have the same trauma. So we have to change the perception of the region. The region has to do that, though, right? I can only do so much. The region has to spend time doing the kinds of content that gets out there. It's not enough to just write it in the newspaper and put it on the front page of the newspaper and hope somebody comes to your website, right? It's no longer a world where you pull people to your content. You have to push content to where people already are. So you need to go and get the TikTok influencer to come down, shoot the content and put it on TikTok and put it on Instagram and that's what we need to be doing. Change the narrative by meeting people where they already are. And that's just basic business going forward. In the 21st century, market to people where they already are, identify your tribe, and go deep with the tribe. Stop trying to convince everybody to participate. Just find your tribe.
As a marketer, I know exactly what you're talking about and how important it is to find your tribe. Now, so you're focusing mainly on millennial and Gen Xer potential investors, but I also see that you're really emphasizing access for what we call retail investors, right? Which are investors who don't have as much experience, which could be millennials and Gen Xers as well. Why are you choosing to focus on like less experienced investors or people with maybe lower, funds?
So lower net worth. That's
lower
what
net
retail
worth.
is,
Yes, I was
right?
trying to find a way to say that. Yes.
Retail is not about experience, it's about investable capital. So if you're an accredited investor in the United States, it means that as a person filing singly, you would have earned $220,000 per year for the last 2 years and have a reasonable expectation of earning that going forward. $300K if you're filing joint, or $1 million net worth, not included in your primary residence. So I used to work in private equity. I used to work in hedge funds. We could only raise money from the 1%, from accredited investors, and we're limited to 100 people per fund. So venture capital funds, private equity funds, hedge funds can only raise from accredited investors. Well, if the 1% put their money there to create wealth, what happened to the rest of us? Why we can't get it? So that's the idea. I wanted to give access to the same opportunities that the wealthy 1% had access to. So I got the chance to work at an agency, and I was in charge of digital marketing for Vanek Mutual Funds. And they were advertising to retail investors. Let's just promote our mutual funds and our ETF to the general public. And when I get to go and design that post-click marketing experience, you click that Google ad, and what happens after that? I designed the entire thing. We spend $200,000 that month on $100K on Google pay-per-click and MSN actually, and $100K on display ads, banner ads. And then I see $1.1 million coming 1 month. The next month, $1.3 million coming. The next month, $1.5 million coming. I said, wow, if you can create a product that targets the masses, that is easy to understand, easy to get into, easy to get out of, you can actually raise large pools of capital, help to increase financial literacy, and finally give them access. Great. How do I do that now for the Caribbean and then eventually for Africa? It was never about just Jamaica or just the Caribbean. It was always about creating a Black-owned Berkshire Hathaway, allowing us to invest in majority Black countries. But you need to start small, right? Uber and Lyft starts in one city, then moves to another city and slowly builds out, then goes global. We start in Jamaica, then move to the Caribbean, then we can move to the bigger markets because the same problems that we have, whether you're in Africa, Jamaica, the Caribbean, Southeast Asia, or Latin America, is the same problems that developing countries have. Same opportunities.
Yeah.
So that's why us, retail.
So I'm already seeing the profile of the person that you're basically targeting for these investments. in the Caribbean. So we're talking millennial Gen Xer, a retail investor, meaning a lower net worth investor, basically people like me and Chris, who are not.
Don't tell them that. I don't know if that's true.
1%. So
she's checking my pockets, David. She's checking my pockets.
Yeah. I'm definitely checking his pocket. So, what about in terms of background? So you're talking about Africa a lot. So let's pretend, like for instance, I'm an African American. So my mom's African American, my dad is Cameroonian. So let's say I'm a Cameroonian, a Nigerian investor living in Nigeria. Are you already reaching those groups, or are you focusing mainly on Caribbean diasporans at this time?
So for now, the start right now was focused on people interested in the Caribbean. Let's start with the Caribbean. So we were focused on Caribbean Americans, right? I don't really solve a problem initially for people in the Caribbean. We have some people down there that want us to list something down there, but we were going to list in the United States. So we went with U.S. securities laws. So we can only raise in the United States. So I was limited to people in the US who want to invest outside of the US. I'm going to narrow that down to just Caribbean first. Most likely, easiest to convince are people of Caribbean heritage. Just start with that. And then outside of that, we can talk about friends of the Caribbean. So you visited the Caribbean, or you have friends who are Caribbean, you're adjacent to people of Caribbean descent and culture. So that's our secondary market. But primary was Caribbean American millennials and Gen Xers who are non-accredited investors. That's actually our target market. We can expand after we get listed, because then anybody can invest. And in fact, anybody from around the world will be able to invest. We have institutional investors who want to invest. We have one that's lining up to do between $1.5 and $3 million US after we go public. This is our climate ETF, because they cannot get exposure to the Caribbean. But we'll be public, so they can buy into our company. So when we go public, we have to completely shift who we target. But while we're private, it's just Caribbean Americans in the United States. And we went even narrower. We went with 10 cities on the East Coast of the United States, because we already knew where the people were, thanks to the diaspora. But we have a website. We do marketing. I can see where the traffic is coming from. Then we can go on to events in person there and build the relationships there. I worked on Hillary Clinton's campaign. I worked on Caribbean American outreach in the state of Florida. So I really, really understand where we are, how to get to us, how to talk to us. And I just take that I know, instead of raising money for a campaign and getting votes, can do the same thing to raise money to go and invest and have positive impact while generating a return. We get to do good and do well. I think that's the coolest thing in the world. You land in a country, you can go on a vacation, and you can look at this product and open the banana chips and say, oh man, we invested in this company. Look how many jobs it created. We helped to build those houses. I'm drinking that juice and we own shares in it. That must feel empowering. It feels empowering when I'm down there and I'm showing people, hey, we own shares in this ice cream. Wow, that's awesome. I think that's the best way to invest.
I was going to say, and it sounds like such a wonderful way to build trust, because I think because of all that trauma and all that cynicism that goes into it, when you're showing people, look, this is something tangible that's actually happening, you're building trust. Yeah. So what do you think beyond building trust are like the real infrastructural challenges that you have to like work through in order to really see this through?
So I love that it said other than trust, because that is the biggest hurdle to jump over.
Yeah, for sure.
Why we have a regulated, audited, transparent vehicle that's going to be publicly traded. So trust, we should be able to get over that hurdle. The other hurdles that we have, honestly, the first one is opening the accounts in the Caribbean. To open the bank account, to open the investment account, it is crazy. I mean, Jamaica requires wet signatures. At least in the Bahamas, I didn't have to do that. Everything was done online and assigned with documents. In Jamaica, I had to fly down in person and physically sign every document to open the investment account or the bank account. Wow. It's actually been a nightmare. But we've gotten through that. We've done it. We've made the investment. So that was a second hurdle. We have institutional problems. We're backwards. And we need to leapfrog. And that's actually the biggest problem after trust. Just opening the accounts to go and do business.
Yeah.
And I remember I was in Jamaica. They had me there 2 weeks ago. A private sector organization in Jamaica had me for a fireside chat breakfast event. So I was talking there and I said, imagine this, guys. It is Thursday morning. Next week, we go to the World Championships in Japan, right? Tokyo. We as Jamaicans probably not even going to work whenever them races going on. If it's church, they're probably going to put it up on the screen, 100-meter final or run. I said, guys, we are going to want our athletes to do two things. We want them to be world-class beaters next week, and we want them to be really fast. I said, we need to change the way we think about the country. Jamaicans should care about the speed of doing business just as much as they care about the speed of their athletes.
Yeah.
And the place was like, whoa, blah, 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 right? I'm like, the business, blah, blah. And I said, clearly some young people were in there.
That's right.
And I said, and on top of that, we want them to be world-class and world beaters on the track, but our companies are not trying to be world-class and world beaters in the country. That's just it, though. We put the energy into the wrong stuff. India does not care about how many gold medals or silver medals or bronze medals they get in the Olympics or world champs.
Right.
They love cricket, but they care about some other stuff. We need to grow our economy. We need to educate these people. Let's go and get some IT going. Right? That's what they have focused on. We have chosen to focus, unfortunately, on the wrong things. And Lee Kuan Yew says it in his book, From Third World to First. The man says that he came to Jamaica, saw how much we have, all this land, right? Singapore does not have potable water. They have to import water. They have to import fresh fruits and vegetables. That was their thing, no hinterland. And the guy says, wow, look at all this land, all this stuff there. Then he comes back in the 70s, I think it's 76, and he says, man, what happened here? You know, these people have so many resources that we wish we had, rivers and mountains and fruits and land to grow all the sugarcane, all these things. And he says, theirs was a culture of song and dance. They drank copiously and danced vigorously, hard work they had left behind with slavery. That's what Lee Kuan Yew says about Jamaica. Yeah. Granted, can we do both though? Because I still want us to drink copiously and dance vigorously.
For sure.
But let's not leave behind the hard work and smart work. The Caribbean is special.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, Africa faces the same dilemma. The continent of Africa faces the same dilemma, right? Known as a destination or exporting entertainment to the world. Like, listen to Afro beats and these
Afrobeat.
Kind of But I think what's happening that I'm seeing happening in Africa, and I don't know if you feel like this is happening in the Caribbean, is that, yes, hey, the region is good with entertainment. It's good with music. It's good with all of those things. It's found a way to commercialize that, though. So it's not just that we're partying or having vacations for fun, but we found a way to make leverage Afro beats to
Nollywood
to do that. So I guess my question to that is that maybe we shouldn't discount the fact that Usain Bolt is winning gold medals, right? We should discount the fact that maybe we're not converting that into something that's commercially viable and that's pushing the economy forward, right?
Right.
So is your issue more with that, or is it more with the fact that he's winning gold medals and we're focused on that?
So I wasn't discounting winning the gold medals and putting Jamaica on the map, right? Every time you do that, when St. Lucia goes and wins a 100-meter, that got people to say, where is St. Lucia?
Right.
So it's marketing, that's brand equity, that's worth something. How do you turn that into more than what you've been doing before, though? We have not spent enough time turning that into other stuff, other than sun, sea, and sand. Come to Jamaica and feel all right. That's what we have focused on. That's not enough. Right? What the African continent has done, what Nigeria has done with Nollywood, and obviously South Africa is doing, they have actually focused on building a business, entertainment business. How is it that Jamaica does not have a sports business? If you want to learn to run fast, you should be going to Jamaica. Literally, you should be coming to Jamaica and eating our food, our yam, our dasheen, our cocoa. That's what we need to be doing. It's a business. Sports actually is entertainment, so it's part of the entertainment business. You love our music, Afrobeats. Look where Afrobeats gone compared to dancehall. Look where reggaeton went compared to dancehall, and dancehall came before. And we got to some point, and then no further. Where are our Jamaican record labels, our Caribbean record labels? Where are they? Do we own them? Right. That's the difference. Africa has made sure it owns its stuff and is investing in stuff, and it's coming back to Africa. We are not doing that in the Caribbean. We're content to just go and play for everybody else and allow them to make money. The biggest reggae festivals are in Europe and California.
Yeah.
Not in Jamaica.
Right.
Where's our reggae museum? That we're still getting a fight to build the museum. Right? The Bob Marley movie nearly did not get made in Jamaica. Pirates of the Caribbean. You think of pirates, you think of Port Royal, which was one of the two richest English-speaking cities in the Western Hemisphere in the 1500s. It was Port Royal and Boston. Those two were the richest English-speaking countries in the Western Hemisphere. And they did not film the Port Royal scenes in Pirates of the Caribbean in Port Royal, Jamaica.
Yeah.
Really, you went to the Bahamas and you must say, I think it's St. Vincent? How that even work? Yeah, man. So we need to get with the program. And that is where the issue is. We have IP, we have intellectual property. We are not commercializing it and making sure we own it. We do it with Blue Mountain Coffee. We're doing it with Jamaican rum. We're doing it with Jamaican ginger. We're trying to do it with Jamaican jerk. Like, come on, guys, get with the program. But other countries have successfully done this. And I think that the problem is that our chest too high. That's actually what it is.
Well,
we are too proud.
Elaborate on that. That's an interesting
yeah, man. We are so proud that we feel like we cannot learn anything from any other country.
That's right.
Jamaica doesn't want to learn from Barbados. Barbados doesn't want to learn from Bahamas. Guyana don't want to pay attention to none of us. We don't want to learn from Singapore, right? I remember I was reading this great article that talked about Costa Rica making one change versus Jamaica, right? So there was a World Bank article that said if Jamaica just brought its crime rate down to the same level as Costa Rica, it would unlock growth of 3.5% per year, GDP growth, just to bring our crime level down to the same as Costa Rica. And then I go on to read about one decision they made, and it was incredible. They said that Costa Rica went from, the guys presented, so they wanted Intel to come and build a plant. This is a case study I did in school. Costa Rica wants to build a plant and have Intel come into business there, make chips. Intel comes on, they say, what would you need to do to make the chips? Okay, well, we need space to build the factory, we need access to power, and we need an educated workforce. Okay, how would you go about doing that? And I said, well, we need to partner with a local community college or university, design the program, and after 3 years, the people graduate and automatically get a job at Intel. So Intel goes and does that because Intel went there where you have the chips. Dell then comes there and sets up right beside them because they can just take the chip, put it in the thing. So now you build a whole light manufacturing industrial, right? Hub and spoke. Where they chose to build that used to be banana farming. So when the guy, I think is a Minister of Finance, is announcing this thing, says, yes, we in Costa Rica have chosen to go from banana chips to microchips.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jamaica is focused on banana chips.
Right.
In fact, the banana where I make, I can't even get my chip is banana chips. We don't want to learn from Costa Rica. But everything I did in my MBA was about case studies. Find companies who have already done something, the mistakes they made, what went right, and then copy them. Iterate for what is relevant for your local thing. But when your chest too high, I can't learn nothing from you. You don't have more money than me. We do it in our personal life. Why are I going to listen to you and read any book you give me? You're not worth more than me. You're not smarter than me. We find reasons to not listen to people when we should actually be like, let me learn something from you. We can learn from everybody. I've learned from homeless people. I just be receptive and don't have the pride get in the way. Be proud to be black. Be proud to be Nigerian. I'm proud to be Jamaican, but the pride is not going to have me then fall, right? Pride goeth before I fall. Move the pride aside. Listen. What can we learn? Great. So yes, Singapore, Estonia. I think there's some stuff there. Botswana, Rwanda. Rwanda can go through what they went through. What excuse do we have in the Caribbean? Seriously.
That is so powerful. I mean, what you're saying, David, just resonates so strongly with me because I think about this sort of like victory lap culture. And even Carol Dweck, the psychologist, talks about a fixed mindset versus an open mindset. And
abundance.
And I just see it just one for one in how to describe this problem. But given that What sorts of investments are you seeing happen in Jamaica, or are you doing through Blue Mahoe that you thought would crawl because of all these obstacles in terms of growth, but instead you've seen them take off like a rocket? They've really succeeded in spite of all the obstacles.
So we really have one. Only really have one that has taken off like a rocket, and actually didn't expect that one. I have others I thought were going to take off, and they just kind of flat or barely grew it. And this was, we invested in a company called Epley. The CEO actually was in my class in high school. It's an asset management company. They're doing leasing. They manage a Caribbean property fund, and we're up 144% since we bought into the company. And I was shocked. I did not expect the asset management business to be the one in our portfolio that took off. I thought some other stuff would have taken off. So that was unbelievably surprising. But once again, it reminds me of just how great it is to own asset management companies. Oh, geez, man, your costs are fixed. The more assets you get to manage, the more fees that you can earn. The more money you make for your investors, is the more all of you make. Oh man, that's great. So that's actually the surprising one. I didn't think we were ready for that asset management business. If you think about what Michael Leachin would say, is that he got into mutual funds, asset management in 1979 in Canada. He then started buying asset management companies, mutual fund companies in 1981, because in his head, baby boomers were now in investment mode. They had gotten to the age where they have household formation. They're going to now start investing for retirement. And so he was right there. He benefited from that demographic dividend. And the Canadian industry was really small. I think it was only 3 billion Canadian at the time of assets. Now we're in the trillions. So he got on a rocket. That's really what it was. I think the Caribbean is at the same point. I think Africa is at the same point. Growing middle class, low consumer debt. People want to invest. All of us want to invest now. We see too much on Instagram and TikTok. We need to make sure that we are at the forefront of that. I think education needs to be layered on top of that. Don't just take people's money. Educate them and make them smarter investors so they can now create generational wealth. Their grandchildren should be talking about investing at the dining table, because most of us never spoke at the dining table about investing with our grandparents. We have to change that.
Absolutely.
So to that point, how are you educating diaspora investors? So you're pitching to these, Caribbean diaspora investors in the U.S. or wherever. How are you educating them?
So I would say we're not pitching anybody, actually. What we've been doing is doing investor sessions where we talk about what we are doing, what their experience has been. And that's actually where we're going. We don't go and pitch them. So we have some of our investors, our shareholders, we call them, because they're shareholders. They've set up dinner meetings, right? We did one in Floridale, and we had 27 people show up. And I got to talk about, here's what we're doing, here's what I've bought, here's how it's performed, what's up, what's down, here's why we own it, here's why we still own it, here's why we think investing in the Caribbean makes sense, here's our structure. So we are educated by these companies. Some of them didn't even know exist. Oh, I didn't. Some people didn't even know we had a stock exchange, right? In Jamaica. So it's telling them what, it's crazy. Right. Go in there and just tell them, here's what we're doing, here's been our experience so far. And that has been working. We've partnered with the Jamaica Trade and Investor JAMPRO. We did one just 2 weeks ago in Miami. We had a private event, about 50 people were invited, more on the higher net worth side and the who's who in the diaspora there. And we had the head, the CEO, Shulette, flew up from Kingston. We were a sponsor and one other financial firm. So there's two of us sponsored that. We got to speak. They spoke. And then we had the Jamaican ambassador to the U.S. come there, and he spoke as well. So I saw him in New York last week, Friday. I was there with him, the Prime Minister of Jamaica, and our Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. They were speaking at the consulate after his UN event and speaking to a group of the diaspora at the consulate. 5 of them are my investors. So I'm in the room, and the ambassador comes and says, David, that event was great. Your brother Robert did an amazing job, because I was in Jamaica. I had to speak the Thursday. I couldn't be there the Tuesday. So my brother is my COO. He spoke. And he says, I'm telling them we need to do exactly that event all over the United States, especially in the East Coast. And I said, I am ready, sir. You tell me when. Let's come. We've done events in New York. I've done events in Connecticut. I've done Atlanta. I've done Philadelphia. You tell me when. We will come back and tell them, here's what's happening. Here's what we have been doing. Here's where we mess up. Here's where it's working. Here's why we still do it. Yeah. That is the way to educate. But now we need to go further. I can't keep getting on these planes, and I can't just hire more people to go on the planes. My wife and my kids are missing me.
Right.
we need to now go virtual. So we're doing webinars. So we're running some ads now to get people to sign up for webinars so we can virtually speak to them. Here's afternoon, here's evening, here's a weekend. Let's talk to them about, again, what we're doing, why we're doing it, how it has been performing so far. And then now let's get some influencers on board to come to Jamaica. We'll shoot the content, interview some of the CEOs of the companies we've invested in. Come and eat some food at Usain Bolt's Traction Records, where we are an investor. And then let's make you go back and edit your content and then put it out there unfiltered. I don't think it should be a corporate video. I think it needs to be unfiltered, honest, raw. This is my experience hanging out with the person. This is my experience in the country. And here's what they saw. Because we have very high base meters as millennials. If you're too polished, something
is up.
No.
As a millennial, yes, I agree.
Yeah, man. Right. We grew up watching Lifestyles of the Rich and the Famous with Robin Lee.
That's it.
Too polished.
Yeah.
You fake it till you make it. No. Your antenna goes up. Boom. Yeah, so we want to bring some influencers to Jamaica. We did it once before. We did it with Jibril Agora. So Jibril from Passport Heavy came to Jamaica with me that December. We put that together in 2 weeks. The Jamaica Tourist Board worked with us. Carol Beckford was working with me at the time, and she made some crazy calls in 3 days. So he flew down. Adam Stewart jumped in and had Enterprise rent-a-car sponsor, AC Hotel that he owns by Marriott in Kingston gave us rooms. We got Ocean Carl Spring out in Falmouth to give us some rooms as well. We go on to Mystic Mountain and we go on the bobsled thing. Tourist board paid for that. We had a breakfast meeting with some who's who CEOs in Jamaica and the head of Jamaica's tourist board. We went to the Bob Marley Museum. We took him to the studio. We need to see how reggae music is made, right? So when Jibril is with me, I was like, yeah. So he buys his soda. I was like, yeah. So we own shares in the company that makes that soda. We own shares in the company that makes that chicken. We own it, right? Every time we're doing stuff, we own shares in this. When he came back a week later, he's like, hey, so I've never been somewhere with a black person, see them get so much love from local people, and see how much they've invested back home. I want to invest in Blue Mahoe. So he wrote a check just by coming down, and the content he posted, people are just like, yeah, man, I love Jamaica. That was so awesome. I need to do more of that. That's actually what I need to do. I need you guys to come down and shoot a video and interview in Jamaica.
For sure. And we want to do that. But that was actually one of my question I had is that, so people that come to the vacation, right? I was just there in June. I brought some of my family to Ocho Rios to some all-inclusive resort. We were on the resort the entire time, but that's what we wanted to do at that time. Are you working to get like vacationers? Like, let's say people have these trips planned. Are you leveraging that to say, hey, you're coming here on vacation already? Why don't you come and we'll give you an investment tour?
So that's a tough one. The way we did it was we didn't focus on the vacation. Right? I started with people who are already focused on wanting to see more. So we partnered. So the Jamaica does a diaspora conference every 2 years. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade did it last summer. So this was going to be I believe we did it in June. It was going to be Montego Bay. It's a 3-day conference. We came on as the first diaspora company as a platinum sponsor. So you have the big companies, and then you had Blue Mahoe on there. We then did a fireside chat on one of the days during lunch, and I brought the head of the Jamaica Stock Exchange to be part of that fireside chat with me. And then the government organized 3 different trips for people to go out and see investment opportunities. So if you wanted real estate, they're going to take you somewhere else. You wanted to see agriculture, they put you on a different bus and took you somewhere. So the government was already organizing that. So we just jumped onto that. We did our own event January of this year where we brought down about 13 investors who flew down between West Palm Beach, Orlando, Atlanta, and New York. And we hosted them at AC Marriott again in Kingston. That's my spot. And then we took them out. We took them out to Orchards. Actually, I went to Aracobesta to look at a property that we are investors in. We took them to the area, Old Harbor. We were building affordable houses so they could see it, feel it, and touch it. They met the developer, met the landowner, toured the 2 bedrooms those guys built, toured the 1 bedroom we're building. They get to see the water pumping station, how the water is getting to these properties, and they get to see the cement mixing plant on site. And imagine one of them brought one of their financial advisor who works at JP Morgan, but is Jamaica. And she pulls me aside. When she see the cement mixing plant, after the whole tour, she pulled me aside and said, David, if this is a scam, it's the worst scam ever because you're taking our money and you're actually building houses. And I said, please go back to New York and tell everybody what you just said.
Yeah.
That's it. And we brought a camera crew to shoot that, and we put out a video. But that is how she thought. And I was like, yeah, man, let's just keep getting people down here and let us control what they go and seek. I need them to see that stuff. So yes, it'd be great to scale and say, guys, if you're going to be on vacation in Jamaica, take a day, book on this website, and we can get you a new experience. And let's take you to somewhere that we invested in this farm, or we invested in this thing, right? Let's restaurant. And we could show them. That's a great idea. We will get there. Right this minute, it's more about, hey, you want to go on a business trip. There's one coming up. It's going to be in November. It's mainly being organized out in New York with the assemblymen and so on there. And they've asked me to help curate that trip.
Great.
But we need to do exactly what you said. Come next year, we need to now say, you come in here already. Take one day.
Yeah.
Sign up here. And let's get you an experience that will be unforgettable. I guarantee that. And we'll eventually expand beyond just Jamaica, because we need to do that experience in Guyana, that experience in Barbados, Bahamas, and elsewhere. And then obviously somebody needs to do that for me in Ghana, in the Gambia, in Nigeria, and South Africa. And then when we get our investments over there, we can start being a part of that as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to, since you're already talking about that, are you working with any like partners in Africa right now? People that you're kind of like feeling out to see how you can expand your investments to the African region?
So yes, we are doing the feelers now. I just got asked to speak. I'm going to be in London in 6 weeks. I'm speaking at the African Caribbean Investment Conference. I'm the keynote there. So that's the first big push. We're making a big announcement there. I just spoke last week in Miami. I was a keynote for investment conference, real estate investment conference. And then they did a panel afterwards. And it was about investing in Africa and the Caribbean. So I represented Caribbean. Somebody else represented Africa. One guy in the audience jumped up right afterwards and said, here's my card. I've been building affordable houses in Africa for the last 30 years. Here's a business. Minimum is 2,000 houses. I'd love to partner with you. You have a unique way of being able to raise money legally within securities laws to get access to capital. We want you to give people access to here. And so, I love that, but I need to get over there. We're slowly building a team that obviously has relationships on the ground. You don't go into another country without having local relationships and local contacts. You know that. So that's the first phase. Let's spend the next 6 months building the relationships. I want to now start spending time over there come this year on to next year. So I need to spend more time in the UK to build those diaspora relationships there. I think New York has a lot of African connections as well, more so than what we have in Miami and the south of the US. And then we need to get over to the region and start feeling out these countries and the culture. Yes, there are similarities, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
And I want to get comfortable. But it's interesting that it wasn't Africans who first approached me first to go to Africa. Yeah, somebody on LinkedIn saw what I was doing and they worked for the UN Capital Development Fund. They reached out to me. Next time I was in New York, I want me to come by the UN and present to their team on how I'm doing this with unlocking diaspora capital to come back home to the Caribbean, right? We call it diaspora direct investment instead of foreign direct investment.
Love it.
And they're like, we love this. Can you come and present about diaspora direct investment, DDI? So yeah. So I'm going to the UN. This is awesome. Let's go to the meeting. And it's a Zoom thing. It's just 3 of us in the room and then Zoom. And it pops up and there's a lady in Tanzania, South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, Botswana, Ivory Coast, Angola. And it was all women. Hats off to you ladies. It was all women. And I'm just like, okay. I didn't expect all these people in the meeting, but I'll explain. So I explained the securities laws in the US, how we structure this, and how are we able to take money from people in America, advertise it, and then invest in the Caribbean. And everybody was so impressed. And then the UN had one question, the Capital Development Fund. Can you do this for Africa then? And I said, yes. And I said, do you know this is the biggest diaspora? And I said, yes, I do know that. I am quite aware. It's like, well, do you plan to do it for Africa? And I said, yes. The Caribbean was just a start. That was a start. I said, okay, are you going to create a different company or are you going to use the same one? I said, it was always the same company. It's one ring to rule them all, right? I had to be the nerd.
That's right.
And he laughed and he said, okay, when you are ready, we have an anchor investor for you. And having this Asian American lady pointing out how big of an opportunity it is and how I need to be thinking bigger was once again an aha moment. oh my gosh,
Right.
we're going to make sure that we get there. But in my head, it was going to be 3 years after we go public that we don't want to focus on Africa. We're going to have to move faster. We can't wait anymore. There are too many people coming to us right now.
Yes.
And I think we should strike while the iron is hot.
Yeah, because it seems like a time of great excitement and great urgency.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
What is it? World Cup coming up, and we're going to have Afrobeats, World Cup album things. People are going to be paying attention. We should leverage that.
So if someone's listening and they're like a first-time investor in the Caribbean, they're excited about this, and they're like, I have $2,000 to invest. What would you advise them to put that toward? Like, what would make sense for them?
So I would say to split it between our bond, which is a fixed return, 10% a year, 5 years, and it's paid semi-annually, and all that money is used to build houses. So that's one. And then I do 1,000 into that, and then $1,000 into Blue Mahoe stock, because we are a diversified holding company, and we're designed exactly for those people. I mean, this morning somebody actually invested $2,500. It's $10 a share. They bought 250 shares this morning. Right? There's a guy last week Friday. I met him the Thursday. We did a call yesterday, and he's doing $100,000. Yeah, big difference. That's where, in my opinion, that's where you should put the $2,000. Get into investing, but you want a vehicle that's a bit diversified, and that's going to be liquid, right? In our case, it's liquid. Otherwise, you're flying down to Jamaica, you're opening the investment account yourself, and then you have to pick the companies you want to invest in, and that's down there in Jamaica. We are going to be listed here in the US. So your Charles Schwab account, your TD account, or if you're on the app, right? We have different apps like Public, and everybody knows these apps, right? You can just do that. That's great. I can go in and buy some shares, hold it, see what's happening, quarterly reports, audits, and then obviously annual general meetings that we all get to come to and learn more about investing, learn about the Caribbean, and eventually Africa. And God forbid you need some liquidity, you can borrow against the shares or sell them.
Yeah.
Nobody else is giving it that for the Caribbean. You're locked up. We are going to give you that liquidity. So access and liquidity, but we get to do all that financial education in the same way that Warren Buffett with Berkshire Hathaway has his annual general meeting, and you learn so much about investing from him. Is the same thing that's going to happen with our annual general meetings.
Absolutely.
You are really directing investments towards affordable housing for locals.
Yeah.
In the Caribbean. Why are you choosing to go this route versus doing what people expect? Like investment. When I think of real estate in the Caribbean, I think resorts, hotels, Airbnbs. Why are you going the affordable housing for locals route in terms of investment?
Because we have limited competition. That's actually the answer. That's really the answer. So everybody's building high-end villas and these properties, resorts for people to come to. I don't want to compete over there. What are fewer people doing? Oh, very few people are actually doing affordable houses. Well, let's just go over here. It so happens in countries like Jamaica, we have a national housing trust. Everybody who gets a W-2 income has that money come out of their pocket to go into a national housing trust, just like Singapore. It then builds affordable houses and also provides mortgages for you to buy a house. If the house costs less than a certain amount, they provide a 100% mortgage for that house. So we're building houses that qualify for a 100% government-backed mortgage. With 70,000 people in Jamaica qualified for that mortgage, and we're only building 700 houses, 1% of the total addressable market. To me, that's just very simple business.
Yeah.
Limited competition, government-backed in some way. Why not? And guess what? It actually does really well. We had one lady, we announced it on a YouTube show. And we said we're doing 200 in the first phase. It's going to cost us $5 million US. Total is $17.5 million US we have to spend to build it. We have 287 people have now applied for the first 200. Every single one of them is already qualified for that government mortgage that covers 100% of the house. And this person emails me and says, Mr. Mullings, I don't know if I'm in the first 200, but I really need one of these houses. I've been a teacher in Jamaica for 27 years. This will be the first house that I can afford to buy without having a man co-sign on the mortgage with me. I sat at my computer and I cried and I emailed a lady and I said, I've never thought about that problem. I will reserve a house for you and I will personally hand over your key.
Wow.
That is the kind of impact that we can have when we invest back home.
Wow.
Those are the people I want to come and be my shareholders, because that's the impact you want to have.
No, that's really powerful. That's a great way to that's a great way to sail off into the sunset.
I'm telling you, we have this segment of our show called Looking Ahead. We're gonna like ask you something and fill in the blank for us. So 2 Caribbean countries that even seasoned Caribbean investors are not talking about enough are
2, I would say Bahamas and Barbados.
Mm-hmm.
Bahamas and Barbados. So many people are focused on Guyana, obviously, and then Jamaica. I said those are the 2. Everybody, you don't even have to be from the Caribbean to know about Guyana at this point.
Yeah.
Bahamas is very stable, doing really well, but people ignore it because it's so close to the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's massively overlooked. And then on the Barbados side, they're in the middle of their IMF deal. So they're doing the same thing that Jamaica did 14 years ago.
Right.
When did Jamaica have the best performance stock exchange? 2014 to 2019, in the middle of our IMF deal. Right. When you would think is the worst neighborhood to invest in.
Come on.
That's when the good houses were found.
Awesome.
Right now, Barbados is going through that same transition. So you don't invest after something is perfect. I don't buy into the neighborhood after all the houses are built and everything is there. No. I want to buy just as I see some things start popping up. Oh, a McDonald's is coming. Oh, a Walmart is coming.
Mm-hmm.
Buy.
That's
actually when I want to invest. So Barbados and Bahamas are overlooked and slept on.
There it is. There it is. What do you say is that Caribbean country that has become, or we sort of answered this, but I want to hear if you can confirm it. The Caribbean country that has become the gold standard for attracting diaspora investors
is Jamaica.
Yeah.
We have a diaspora advisory board. We work closely with the minister. Jamaica is the only Caribbean country that actually has a diaspora advisory council that works with the government. You know, what Jamaica Trade and Invest does to work with the diaspora is incredible. So it is a gold standard. There's always room for improvement, but every other CARICOM country could look to Jamaica and learn from it. And we do have them. We have Bahamas is talking to us. Barbados has been talking to us to learn from us as well. So it's a gold standard. And it's not because I'm Jamaican I'm saying that one. I served on the board. I saw it firsthand.
This is empirical, y'all.
Facts.
Exactly.
That's not the pride talking, guys. It's not the pride
talking. So, David, in 10 years, you envision the Caribbean being the what destination of the Western Hemisphere?
You know, I'm going to say the Singapore-like destination of the Western Hemisphere.
For sure. And what about the world? The Caribbean will become the what destination of the world?
The vibesiest destination of the world.
Let's go.
Vibesiest. That's the Caribbean.
Explain that word for our viewers and for me.
I felt them though.
Remember, we dance vigorously and we drink copiously. You think of the Caribbean, you think of carnival, you think of dancehall, you think of music, you think of sports. That is different, right? We talk about comparative advantage when you look at countries. Companies have competitive advantages. Countries have comparative advantages. The Caribbean is not about bauxite. It's not about oil. You can find that anywhere. It's not about bananas. You can grow that somewhere else. What is unique to us is our people, our culture. Everybody who comes to the Caribbean says, man, I really love your people. That's vibes. We bring the vibes. You put us in any party, we bring the vibes. If you need to bust a song, you put Elephant Man or Sean Paul on the song because we bring the vibes. We are the real vibes. The Caribbean is the real vibes.
For sure.
And that comes from our African roots. Let's be honest.
No question.
Oh yes. Just like a little story I want to share. Like everyone that I've been going to Jamaica with my mother for years. But every one of my Cameroonian relatives that I take to Jamaica, the first thing they say is that this reminds me of home. Everyone here.
It's lovely.
We started actually at some point, started naming people that we were dealing with based on people back in our village in Cameroon. They're like, oh, guys, so-and-so. Oh my God, he looks just like, so it's very real. Like there's been this kind of, at least from my standpoint, lots of Africans living in the US have discovered Jamaica as a travel destination. And the first thing that comes out of their mouth is like, oh my God, I feel like I'm back in my hometown. I feel like, everyone I interact with, I can like.
Exactly. And we have been sleeping on targeting that market. We have focused on targeting rich white people in Canada, the US, and the UK, and these Europeans that come in. when all these black people in these same countries, I mean, certainly Canada and the US, you have to fly so far to go to Ghana, Ivory Coast to get this thing. You know what? Jamaica was right here. Come down and experience Jamaica, experience Barbados, experience Bahamas, and you're going to be saying, man, I feel like home. This food tastes like home. This food look like home. Even the name of some of the food sound like home.
Come on.
Yep.
Come on.
Yep.
We need to do better. And I think it's also symptomatic of us, though, having that headbutting here in the US. Caribbean immigrants versus African Americans, Black Americans, and fighting against each other instead of coming together with each other.
Yeah.
And it goes both ways. It's not any one group to be blamed. I can see both groups having that issue. When I was at university, I had Black Americans accuse me of acting white, talking white, dressing white. And I was like, what the hell is that? I grew up in a British colonial country. Like, I don't get what that is. So don't look down on us because we grew up like this. We have the same slavery experience, but our post-slavery experience was different. And we in the Caribbean can't relate to it. I remember saying to somebody, but I don't understand. You are in the land of plenty, the land of milk and honey. How is it that you're here and you're not doing as well as these Caribbean nurses who came here and did this or achieved this? And the person said to me, David, you misunderstand. You don't know what it's like to be raised in a country where you are not the majority. I grew up in Jamaica where I saw black lawyers, black dentists, black judges, black bankers. That was normal to me. I always thought that was possible. He said, post-slavery in the US, you're promised things that take it back from you, and then you're made to feel less than the whole time. And you only think that, you know what? I can go and sling some drugs. I can go and throw a ball or catch a ball, really. That's actually what you're doing, is catching the ball, not throwing the ball. Whether it's basketball or American football. Or I can go into music. I can entertain people. That's what you saw as the way out. And I was like, oh, geez, I have never thought about it that way. No, I felt bad because I never stopped to think about the lived experience of a Black American or a Black Canadian. I just looked at it from Jamaica and what I saw on TV, what I saw on Saved by the Bell.
Yeah.
That's what I thought America was. So we as Caribbean people need to make an extra effort to link up with our cousins, because that's what we are. It's one ship. Stop in Barbados and then stop everywhere in the Caribbean and then kept going into the United States. It's one ship. We're all cousins. If we start with that, I think that we can actually be a far more powerful economic force.
I just love what you're saying, David, because it just really made me think about the fact that we are going to get through this together. You know, like the whole diaspora coming together, doing business with each other, learning about each other. That's where the healing takes place. That's where our triumph takes place. So thank you for lifting that up.
That's the word, healing.
Yeah.
We need to heal. I remember when Dad and I were speaking, and this is Dad and Mom were talking, and I was complaining to Dad that, man, I'm not getting any support from Black Americans for Blue Mahoe. And Dad was saying, why do you think that is? And I said, oh, they don't want to see each other, a fellow Black man, rise up, worse, an immigrant. We are crabs in a barrel. That's what I said. And Dad said, pause. We said that a lot. Are crabs naturally in a barrel?
There it is.
I was like, whoa, no, Dad. We have to put them in the barrel. And he says, exactly. So who put all us Black people in a barrel? Dad changed the way I thought about it after that. I will never say that we are crabs in a barrel anymore. I won't say it. We might have that mentality, but we need to realize that we have been essentially enslaved. If you think about emancipate yourself from mental slavery, none but ourselves can free our minds. That's what Marcus Garvey said. Bob Marley just put it into a song. We need to recognize that we have been mentally enslaved. The shackles are off our hands. It's not off our minds.
Right.
We have to be forceful in ensuring that our children and our grandchildren are no longer mentally enslaved. And it starts with us getting to know each other, breaking bread with each other, and then visiting each other's countries so we learn each other's culture. And then we realize, rotted, we really are just brothers and sisters and cousins from different tribes, but it's one big family.
Exactly.
Don't let anybody separate us. Don't let anybody separate us anymore. Divide and conquer is how it works. Let's push back against that.
That's it.
That's really powerful, David. That's really powerful. So to conclude, we have many people watching across the world. And even I myself am interested in knowing. Let's say I'm a potential investor, right? I have less than maybe $3,000 to invest. Where do I get started with Blue Mahoe?
So we have bluemahoecapital.com/invest. You just go straight to that page. You can see the video. You can learn about what we're doing, especially the houses. We're building affordable houses first in Jamaica. We think that's a very underserved area. We're not here to build resorts. That will come, but we primarily focus on building those houses first to supply houses for locals. And that will explain everything. You can click a link. If you're in the US, it explains how to invest. If you're not in the US, it makes you contact us so we can figure out where are you and then how can you be an investor. And there are two ways. You can buy a bond, right? Some people just want that fixed return, super safe. It pays 10% a year and is quarterly payouts. Is a 5-year term. And then we have the shares they can buy at $10 a share. Both of these offerings are under the Regulation A Act of the United States Securities Act. So this is under the Jobs Act that allows us to go and raise that money via what's called a test in the water. So we're pretty excited about doing that. And then you see the announcement. We had announced our ticker symbol on Bloomberg TV back this summer. So our ticker symbol that will be on NASDAQ. If and when we qualify to list is IRIE, I-R-I-E, which is a special nod to Jamaica and especially the Rastafarians, who are the people that really have been pushing Pan-Africanism and the back to Africa, right? When you say everything IRA, everything is okay, everything crisp, everything nice. We want an investment firm, the portfolio, IRA. That's literally the portfolio. And there's a tree, Blue Mahoe, our national tree, which is also a very fast-growing hardwood that's here for the long term. So we want to build an investment firm that's here for the long term but grows really fast.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you, David. This has been really, really awesome. We invite you to come back on Black and Borderless whenever you want.
We're going to do it when you're in Jamaica. We're going to do it live.
We're going to the next meeting is going to be in person. We're coming
in person, live in Jamaica on me. Sure. I would love to host you guys down there. Yeah. Get some jerk chicken and them oxtail and all that stuff too. Rice and peas. We call it rice and peas, guys.
That's right. Let them know.
Rice and beans.
Yeah, man. What?
Yeah. Say no more. We're coming. And I really mean that. We're going to follow up and have our team follow up and see how we can make that happen.
We're going to make it happen.
Thank you, David. Thank you.
No, thank you for what you're doing. I can't wait. Love what you're doing. And we need to support people like you, to be honest.
Oh, thank you.
It's an honor.
Thank you, sir. Okay. With that, I'm going to let you go enjoy time with your kids so they don't say that you're away from
They're used to this stuff.